Hello everybody, welcome to my webinar for IT Unity, and today I'm going to talk about tips and tricks to help move your SharePoint users away from file shares. Well, I have a lot of conversations with customers, of course, about SharePoint, about Office 365, but always a very interesting topic is about working with documents within SharePoint. And the topic of file shares always comes up because people always ask me like, oh, why shouldn't we use file shares? Why is SharePoint such a great platform? What is your opinion? So I always use four arguments in this case. First of all, I always say, just think about how you work with versioning now, right? You don't have versioning. You probably think you do, but let's just look at what it's like, right? So let's say you're working on a project proposal. You probably have 15 or 20 of those project proposals, and they all have the same name, only the end is a little bit different. It's like 0.1, maybe leading up to 20, not 0.20, but like maybe 1.0, but it takes you 20 files to get there. The risk of this is that there's always people, maybe by accident, it's not intentional, but they take one version away, start to work on it on their desktop, email it to a colleague, and after a while, nobody really knows anymore. Like, is this the latest version? Is that the latest version? And in SharePoint, this works so much easier because this all takes place into one document. So you have the versions, but it's all in this one document. And you can always go back to another version or view that version. That's very easy. Don't be mistaken, of course, there's still 20 documents saved in the background in the database. So, be warned if you have a PowerPoint presentation of 100 megabytes and you save maybe 20 versions, it's 20 times 100. But again, but that doesn't really matter because it's easier to work with, and that's what's important in this case. And the second one, the search is so much better. Just think about searching within Windows Explorer. It's just okay, right? And it's not very user friendly. But within SharePoint, it's just so much easier and so much user friendly, right? You have the search previews, for example, right? I search for something, I find some proposals, I browse over it with my mouse, and I get a preview, and I can immediately click through that preview and see, is this really the document I'm looking for? If it's not, I will continue my search. If it is, I can open it in, right? And that doesn't really exist within Windows Explorer. And that's why one of the reasons, of course, why metadata is so important. But this is a great argument that improving search, finding content. This one, of course, is so topical right now, and not right now, but for the last year and a half, because it doesn't matter where I am, right? Am I on my way to work? Am I sitting in the train? Am I sitting in the bus? Is it in the morning? Is it at night? Is it in the afternoon? Am I using my iPad? Or am I using my iPhone, my Android? Tablet, etc., etc. I need to be able to access my documents. And this is so much easier with SharePoint, right? You have apps. These days you have apps for any device. You have Office for iPad, right? It's free, you know, for Android, and of course you have your service. It's so much better than it used to be a couple of years ago. And of course you probably are able to connect to your file share from your mobile device, maybe through VPN, but I'm 100% sure this is so much more takes so much more time and effort to get that all up and running than just using SharePoint, right? You basically just need a browser or an app to connect to SharePoint and work with your files. Let's take a look at the last one. It's co-authoring. I'll be honest, this is not one that really is the #1 draw for businesses to start using SharePoint instead of file shares. But I really like how the kind of glimmer in people's faces when I mention co-authoring, what it can do, right? So working together with multiple colleagues in one document. People always love it. They really like it when I talk about this feature and what it can do. So, what was I like? I was, when I start with SharePoint, you know, everybody says, and that's what you learn, folders are bad. So this is my reaction when I saw folders at customers, or even within my own, the company I worked at that moment. And no worries, I didn't respond like this, right? Maybe in my head I did. I was like, no, why are they doing this? Why are they using folders? I cannot believe it, right? So yeah, I didn't respond like this because then I would probably be out of a job very quickly. But you kind of, after a couple of years and really working with business users and really seeing how it actually works in the field, right? And there's more than just the theory itself. I kind of changed my mind, how I view folders, how you structure documents within SharePoint. And there's two things. One is a company I worked for 8 months, I'm going to talk about in a second. And the second is this presentation Bobby Cheng did last year for the SP24 conference. Excellent presentation, really good. I included a link, you can see at the right bottom of the slide. View the recording or the slides is great, good stuff. And I use this quote now from, I asked Bobby though, he doesn't mind, but at least I hope he doesn't mind. It's just kind of free promotion, right? So he basically says, should I never use folders? Well, no, not necessarily, but it should be the exception, not the rule. And I love that because that's so true. And this is what I find out now working with clients. Sometimes you have to use folders. Is that bad? No, not necessarily. If that works in that situation, why not? Don't exclude it because it's a folder, right? Well, before I continue, dive a little bit more into the subject, right? I want to introduce myself a little bit more. I want to tell you a little bit more about myself. First of all, I'm an Office 365 MVP from the Netherlands. I'm one of the three, so that's pretty cool, right? Kind of a select group of people. I work for Sparked, one of the top companies in the Netherlands, based in Amsterdam. Huge focus at the business side of Office 365 and SharePoint. We're really good in adoption. We do some really cool stuff. So if you're interested, definitely contact me. And I co-founded the website SPNCNL, and this is a Dutch website where we publish articles, no surprise, about SharePoint and the cloud, so Office 365, Azure. So if you're Dutch, definitely check it out. If you want to write something for us or share something from your own blog, just get in touch and I'll get it sorted. If you're not Dutch, yeah, I'm assuming you're not going to look at it, right? Because it's not in your own language. Well, a little bit about myself personally. Who am I? Well, this is my daughter, Flora. It's my favorite person out in the world, right? It's so cute. And you see she has these, you see the picture, has these name badges, right? From events I've been going to. I'm also seeing now making a little bit of free promotion for one of our competitors. So, well, here you go, guys. But she loves to walk around with these things, and she's like, just walks around the house, and this is very cute, very cute. Well, this is my wife, Katie, of course. I've been married now for almost 4 years, and this is our dog, Flora. Oh, sorry, it's not a dog, Flora. This is our dog, Millie. I'm keeping this in. So, right, you make some mistakes during these webinars, but this is our dog Millie, and she's actually also here in the room. She's like snoring in the background, so I hope you cannot hear it. I cannot reach her to poke her a little bit, but this is what she does. She snores very loud. It's insane. I didn't know a dog could snore that loud. Well, and we live in this great city in Amsterdam. If you're not from around here, you're from from the States or the Canada, definitely visit. I mean, it doesn't even matter. It doesn't matter where you are from in the world. Definitely visit. Such a great city. It's beautiful. You can see this picture. It's so cool. So definitely visit if you're around. Okay. Well, enough about me. Let's continue. I worked for 8 months, a couple years ago, I think 2-3 years ago, for a company called Robeco. It's a big asset manager in the Netherlands, and they implemented Office 365 because they wanted to work with one global platform, so one service for emails exchange. At the moment, they're also using IBM Lotus, I think. And they had an intranet on some other platform. They had file shares, and it's a very traditional company, right? So a lot of information is scattered over different places, and they want to bring that back to one platform. Right? That's where SharePoint is also very powerful. So they decided to use SharePoint as the global intranet collaboration information portal. And of course, reducing costs, right? Office 365 is it's cheap. It's a lot cheaper than having your own on-premises servers, especially for storing data. They had to pay at that time around €1.5–2 for 1 GB. Right, that's insane. And Office 365 at that time, I don't know how much it is now. It was 18 cents. Oh, that's like so much cheaper. Good argument though as well when people are a bit skeptical and they're like, oh, why do we have to use SharePoint Online? And you can say like, well, it saves up a lot of money for the company, especially financial people are very sensitive for that. They really like, if you tell them that, they're like, oh, okay, well, that's a good point. And of course, improving collaboration. That's, in my eyes, one of the most powerful features of SharePoint. Now, one of my tasks was actually introducing SharePoint team sites for departments or teams in departments or for projects. And what's so good about team sites, especially in the case of Robeco? It allowed people to work from one central location, right? They didn't have to go to an internet or to a file share or maybe another system or Lotus Notes. They go to their team sites and that's where all the information is going to be. So it's a lot easier, right? And this is a good one too. You give ownership to the people, right? Again, they had I think they still have it. They had a supplier. If I wanted to have access to maybe a folder within Share, I had to create a support ticket. It could take up to a day for it to be processed. Well, that, in my eyes, unacceptable, right? Let's say you really need to have that information. You cannot wait for a day. So what's going to happen? People are going to email, right? So then you get the whole versioning problem. It's unbelievable. So what we did, we assigned 2 site owners. And yeah, for them it's really easy after training to assign people to do maybe like a document library, right, where they have access to the documents, and of course document management, and that's why we're also doing this webinar, right? So, well, again, a couple years ago I was all about I thought I knew how it worked, right? I knew the theory, I did, but again, it's very different knowing the theory and actually applying it out in the real world and really working with business users. So this is what I did before when I started. I gave a demo about a team site. So, I just, for now, leave out the stuff where I talked about announcements, calendar, everything apart from document libraries in the team site. So what I did, I showed them in a demo, oh, you can create a new column, right? And I said, the folders, no good. Don't use folders. Folders are bad, right? So I said, you can create a column, create a choice column. So that's what I did. I did a couple of choices and did terribly as well. So I just kept the default ones. I think that's choice A, B, and C. Then I think I even showed the term store taxonomy. I think also document sets. And then I said, oh, let's train, right? So I made some assignments where they repeated what I showed them in a demo. And then I was like, okay, here's your manual. Good luck. I will see you in 2 weeks. And yeah, you could do it, right? Well, I think you know what the answer is if it worked out. No, it didn't. Why not? Well, I talked to them 2 weeks later. You have to realize that for most business users, this is not their day-to-day work, right? This is often assigned to them by the management, right? And they often believe in it. They understand why they have to do it, but they also have to maybe they have to work on targets, right? And maybe have a lot of other deadlines. And then by me giving this to them and actually, you say this, like actually telling them, no, you have to figure it out yourself. Yeah, that's not going to work, right? That's not going to happen. And it has nothing to do that they don't want to, but just they don't have the time. And then they also don't understand. Like they don't understand when they have to use just another column for a choice column or when they have to use a term store to build their taxonomy. So this didn't work at all. And I think after two or three times, I was like, oh man, this is really not going well. I have to kind of change my approach. And that's what I did. And that's what I've been doing ever since. So please use my approach, use my techniques. Tell me if it works for you. I would love to hear your feedback as well. But this works for me. So I do the demo, stay the same. Then I said to them, okay, tell me what would you like to share on your site? Show me your file share, right? Because every department has their own file share, right? So they did. They said, okay, now we want to share this part. I did an inventory, took a look at what they had now, and I translated it to SharePoint. I thought like, okay, maybe this works with document set. Maybe this works with a taxonomy. Maybe this just works with a choice column. I made a prototype and I showed this prototype to them, right? And then often they need a little bit of rework, and you just keep doing your rework until they agree. They're like, yeah, this prototype works for us. We understand it, and our colleagues can work with it as well. Then you train them how to work with the prototype, because then they learn how to work we define a solution, right? They don't have to figure it out themselves. And this really improved the launch, right? This made things so much better, right? And they also get excited, right? They see the advantages, they see the power of SharePoint, and they also get excited to really teach their colleagues. So now we know this, at least how I do it. So let's get to work. So I want to go over a couple of real world scenarios, questions I get from customers. I'm using demo data though. The questions are all the same, and the questions I ask are the same, but I just cannot use real life data, of course. So let's start with the first one. I have a conversation with marketing, and I always ask them, what type of documents would you like to share? And they always tell me, not marketing, any department, they say, oh yeah, we have PowerPoint presentations, PDFs, and Word and Excel. And it's like, yeah, that's not really what I mean, but it's my own fault because I asked type of documents, right? So then I tell them, no, what kind of categories do you have? And then I often give an example like this, like, do you have, for example, advertising documents or etc. And then they get it. It's like, okay, that's what you mean. Okay, and then they come back and they say, okay, this is the sort of documents we have. We have advertising documents, corporate branding, corporate website, demand forecasting. Then I ask them, okay, great. And is there any difference in permissions, right? Is colleague A, John, for example, allowed to see the advertising documents but not demand forecasting? And they're like, no. This everybody, doesn't matter what the category is, they can all view and edit the documents. Okay, great. Well, let me show you what I do, right? So I go out of the presentation. I go to my demo site. I created a marketing document library. And what you see here now is that instead of, for example, creating 4 folders for every category, I just created another column. So let me expand these. So you basically see if a document is uploaded, it gets assigned a category. You see the amount of documents, and you can just expand them, and you see the documents. You can click on a document, open. It's a lot easier because you now just basically have one overview, right? You don't have to click into a folder where you often lose the navigation. You lose oversight of all the documents. Again, this is really easy for business users. They just click on upload. They click on browse. I'll just go to one. I just have some demo documents here, so let's pick the smallest one. So hopefully the uploading goes fast. Okay, now they have a name, right? They can assign a title if they want to, and here they're required to fill in a category. So let's say, let's go for advertising, right? They click on check-in. This is so easy, right? This is so easy to explain, and their document is now here. Okay, this is one document, but often when this is a new library and the documents are file share, people want to transfer their files to this library. So they're not going to do one by one. I've never met business users like, yeah, sure, I'll take the whole day to upload one document at a time. They don't do that with file shares, right? They just drop everything in there. So I expect it works here as well. So let me just pick these two. Let's make sure we don't have this one yet. Oh, yeah, okay, let me just select these 3, drag and drop. Now they're being uploaded. Okay, what I do these days, I create an additional view, quick edit. Click on here, and you just get, this is basically the data sheet for you, right? So now they can really easily select the category, right? They can even use like Excel. They all know Excel. Go down. See, it's being processed. They click on stop. And I tell them you have to select the documents. You click on manage, check in, and you click on OK. And you click on stop, all documents, and that's it. And it's very easy. Yes, quick edit does exist here. That's here. I don't think that doesn't work. I think with yeah, it doesn't work with when you use the group by. That's why I create an additional one here. Right? I highly recommend it. Works really well. So how does this work? So let me just show you. Go to the library settings. I created a column here called category, a choice column. I always put it at required, as people definitely gonna forget to fill it in. You enter all the choices here, right? From the example, I like to use radio buttons. I find it an easier presentation for the business users instead of a drop-down menu. No, it doesn't really matter much. If they prefer this one, of course, do that. But I see out there that radio buttons works very well. I'm sorry. often the first line is entered as default value. Don't forget to remove it. Otherwise, otherwise it doesn't matter. It's required. It will automatically pick this one anyway, and people will miss that. So remove it. Create your column. Then of course we need to have our views. So here you have all documents, right? It's the default view. I removed the category column because you already presented through the grouping, right? With the plus symbols. And you can get those by going all the way down, clicking on group by, and selecting it here, right? Let's go one back. To create the quick edit view, click on create view. So I find it so funny. That's quick edit, but here they say all the old names. You click on datasheet view, and then I enter here quick edit, and then remove all these fields, these two, and then just select the category one, and that's it. So let me go back. Yeah, I think that's it, right? And they can also filter here. For example, yeah, it's just the only one here, but they can say, let's show me documents modified by Jane or Joe, whatever. So let me go back to the presentation for you. So what we did, a little summary, what we do, we created a custom column, a choice column. It's very easy to use, right? Somebody uploads a document, assigns a category, that's it. You have one overview, you don't have to click through multiple folders, and you can use the filter, right? And the filter, people really love that. Right? It's very easy for them because they, again, you know this from Excel. Okay, next up. I talked to legal, for example, and I asked them all the same questions, and they come back with this taxonomy, right? That's basically what it is. And this is not possible to use the choice column, but the choice column is one level. So the choice column would work for contracts, intellectual property protection, litigation, and security compliance. But I cannot add a second level. So what do? Well, I think people who work with SharePoint probably know what it is, but let me show you. So again, I'll go to my demo site. I have something called legal documents here. Click on it. And it's loading. And here you actually see something completely, it looks similar, but you see something on the left side. You see a sort of a navigation here. It's called a metadata navigation. So let me click on contracts. No documents are displayed because there are no documents with one of these, what they call a term or one of the subterms. But if I go to, I think this one, no, this one, we'll find it. Or this one, litigation. Ah, here they are. So now here one bankrupt. This is bankruptcy cases, so I think it must be around here. No, if it's not, it doesn't really matter though. So if I find it, I click on it, I'll only show this document. So let's upload one document. Oh, sorry. You can also do some additional filters. So you can say, show me the documents created by one of my colleagues or modified by, right? Let's upload a document. Let's see what it looks like. Click on browse. It's all similar. And this is also great, right? What I like at SharePoint is all the similar interfaces. So people really start to recognize it after a while. Do I have this one already? No. Let's choose this one. Click on OK. Same screen, but now instead of having the radio buttons, I have an empty field. What you can do, you can tell your business users, just start typing, right? And I'm like, oh yeah, I'm actually looking for antitrust cases. Click it. So you get a suggestion, and I love that. It's so easy to use. And click on check in, or they can click on the symbol and go through the taxonomy and say, no, I'm actually looking for this one. Copyrights, click on OK. They click on check in. Yeah, it's not being displayed, of course, because there's a filter applied. So let me click on category. It should show all documents. Yeah, there it is. It's this one. So again, one document works smoothly. But what if I do multiple documents? So let me pick, for example, just these two. And I'm really bummed out. This has been an issue since SharePoint 2007. I have no experience in 2003, so I don't know if it also didn't work there. That it doesn't ask for metadata. Yeah, it's so frustrating. So again, we have the quick edit. It's the same view I created, and this, working with the taxonomy, this column category is what they call a managed metadata column. And I'll talk a little bit more in a second. But in SharePoint 2010, you're not able to change this in a datasheet view. Oh, that was so frustrating, really frustrating. But now this just works. So I can start typing, or I use the symbol. Nope, use a symbol, click on here. And for example, just click on here, click on OK. Often ask, fine, yeah, sure, doesn't really matter. Click on stop. Again, similar interface. Tick the two files, checking, click on OK. And that's it. Go to all documents. And the great thing about here is you can just, this can contain hundreds of documents, but by just applying this metadata navigation, you can easily find documents. It works very well. So how does this work? Again, let's go to the properties of the document library. I have a column here called category again, and I will do another follow-up session in the future, nearby future, where I talk about where you create this column, right? I work with side columns and other things. For now, just want to keep it simple, but I'll promise you I'll do a follow-up session where we'll go a little bit more, yeah, maybe call it deep dive. I'll do more of a deep dive session. So I created a column called category. It is a managed metadata column. That's the column that can tap into, if you go all the way down, this is what they call a term store. So you see, you have something called IT. If I expand it, IT has their own terms, but now I have legal because that's the one we're using. So I selected the legal one. And I will show you where you can create this actually. Click on OK and it's all set. Again, don't forget to tick this box. So where do you create this taxonomy? No, first, let's not forget something. The navigation you do here, metadata navigation settings. Here I selected the category column, and here you have those additional filters. Click on OK and it's available. Click on cancel. The only downside I find of this metadata navigation, if I click here, is that it's always at the bottom of the quick launch. So I have a small quick launch here, right? Not too many items, but if your quick launch ends here, this will move all the way down. So keep that in mind. Yeah, the term store itself. You can find it. Doesn't matter really where you are, what site. You click on site settings. You click on term store management. That's loading now. If I move this a little to the side, you see here a group. I always create a group for the company. So let's say this is our company's Contoso. And here, for example, I create all the taxonomies for all the departments. So if I click on here, you can do, click on here. You can do a new term set. And for example, do we already have marketing? No, we have marketing. And what did we have? I think we had, to be honest, I kind of forgot, but it doesn't really matter. So for example, marketing term A, right? And this is how you build your taxonomy. And it's also been done here for legal, right? And this is so easy to use. And the great thing is, you now are actually creating metadata, taxonomy, and one central location. You're doing this in the term store. And it basically means I can tap into this from any site, right? Because look at that example with the choice column. I created a choice column. I had 4 choices. Let's say I want to use those 4 choices in another column. I have to create a new column and enter those 4 values. Maybe again and again. And after all, I have 5 columns. But if I want to change one value, you have to do it at 5 different locations, right? And it's gonna take more time. You're gonna make mistakes. So by using the term store, it's just from one central location, right? And it's, let's say I change contracts to contract. This change is immediately applied to all the documents with that term. That's how they call this. I think I think they'll cover it for sure. So let me click here. So go back to the home page and go back to the presentation. And again, I'll do a follow-up session. We'll talk a little bit more about the advantages and the disadvantages, what works, what doesn't work. Also about the term store, right? Because it's really cool. It works very well, but of course, it's not perfect. So if there's really a taxonomy, right? So you saw the legal example. Definitely when you have multiple levels. I often, when there's like 4 or 5 choices, I just use the choice column. But if it's like more, like 10 or more, I just find it more easy to use term sets. You see IT, legal, modern, those are term sets. And especially you have to use it when there are multiple levels. Then you get this consistent use of metadata because it's just one location and the whole SharePoint portal can tap into the taxonomy you created. And the suggestions, right, I showed you this in the demo, is awesome. And is really user-friendly for your business users, right? Because they don't have to know the whole taxonomy, right? They can just start typing and they get a suggestion. So next up is document sets, and I like to call these super powered folders because I think they're very powerful and then they can do super things for your SharePoint portal. Why? Why are they so great? Well, first of all, they look like a folder, and I found this especially helpful and useful with companies where people were still very attached to folders, right? When SharePoint was brand new for them and they really had to get used to all this metadata talk, right? And when I showed, for example, a document set, and they're like, "Oh, that's a folder." It's like, no, I often said, no, it's not, but no, it's similar, right? And that doesn't matter. It works for them, right? Who cares? It's not a folder if it looks like it, and they feel comfortable with it, and that's what's important. Next up, this is very nice. I think it has a welcome page, so you can provide information to your business users. You now opened up this document set, for example, called Microcraft. It's a portfolio, and this is what it is. And these are the documents that are stored in, right? And you see the documents, right? You can open up the documents. You can upload new documents. But this is it, right? This is the most powerful part. This one and also one that's coming up. It's the metadata, right? Here on the left side, you see a blue border, and that's the metadata of the document set, not the documents. The document set has company, well, also the documents, but I'll explain in a second. So every document set gets a company, company main phone, city, country, region, type of fund, right? Next up, now I can use different metadata, different additional metadata for the documents. Here you have a column called legal. This column is not available for the document set, only for the documents. What does this mean? This is a screen that shows the properties of a document in a document set. I shouldn't say it too many times. document set, I'm probably going to say it a couple more times, so stick with me. The green borders represent the metadata of the document set, but every document inherits these metadata. And you have the legal here, right? And the legal antitrust cases belongs to this particular document. The advantage of this is that, let's say, if you're familiar with search, on the left side, when you have search results, you have the refiners, right? By default, you have modified by or modified type of document, PDF, Word, etc. Let's say you create a custom refiner called city or company. You can now really easily find these documents within a document set because they got this metadata and you didn't even have to do anything for it. That's brilliant, and it's so easy to use because somebody only has to upload a document in a document set and you automatically get the metadata. That's great. And this one is a good one too. You can create two views. You can create one view for document sets stored in a library. So this is a library called Portfolio Management, and here I see all the document sets grouped at the type of font. But when I open up the document set, I see a different view. I see who created the document, who modified it. I see a version. And this gives you so much flexibility to structure your documents in SharePoint. This is very powerful stuff. I really, really like document sets. When you start to use it, people like it and people really, get into it, and it really helps them to work. You'll definitely love it. So what's a good scenario, right, to use a document set? Because you see it now, it's like, oh, it's awesome, but when can I use this? Well, with different scenarios. First of all, for example, for projects. Of course, you can create a project document library and categorize your documents based on phase, right? Maybe a phase 1 until 5, and you can just use a choice column. But again, there are people out there, businesses out there, who've been using folders for many, many years so they have a folder per phase, and that's how they used to work. Why not create a document set per phase, right? They click on document set called phase 1. You give that welcome page. If you even want, you can use additional metadata to, for example, say this is a draft or final document. This is a type of project document, right? A proposal or design, etc., etc. And really, this can be really helpful, right? Especially for this transition from file shares to SharePoint. Meetings, again, you can use a document library with a choice column that says, this document is a meeting minute or is an agenda. And I actually did this for a customer where I'm working for now. And I just uploaded like 5 documents, and I have a metadata field called day of the meeting. So I say, okay, it's it's like the 10th of May. Automatically the year and the month is extracted, and it looked very nice. But they said, yeah, after a while this is just gonna look, it's too much clutter. I think the PAs you have to work with this. It's just, you know, we don't think it's gonna work for them. It's too much information in one screen. So what did we decide to do? Again, because we used to work with folders, and I still do, of course, because is not yet done. But what we did, we created document sets per meetings. So I have a new meeting, I create a document set, and I say what day it is, and then they upload the documents in the document set, and automatically the month and the year is extracted, and we showed this to a couple of PAs, and they loved it. They're like, yeah, this is great. This is definitely workable for us. Again, you don't have to do this, but this can definitely work. Dossiers, like the example I use. And last but not least, I really use this within Robeco for the replacement of their current file share, right? The folder structure replacement. Let me show you. And this is great. This really helped me out. So let's say I was talking with the accounting and finance department. What did I do? I created a document set for the whole first level, right? You see accounting policies, corporate insurance, corporate restructuring. Those are all document sets. Then I created a column called category, and that category, as a managed metadata column, I attached to the taxonomy of accounting and finance. This is the example you see here. So every time they uploaded a document, for example, in the document set corporate restructuring, they had to assign a term. For example, asset valuation, discounted cash flow valuation. And what's really funny is that they actually said, oh yeah, so I create a folder. I attach a folder. Hey, they don't, but it's fine, right? They made that association with this new way of work, and that worked for them. They really liked it. This is actually what I've been working towards too. So recently, like a month ago, 2 months ago, I'm actually configuring a whole internet portal, and I'm doing these team sites, and I have a chat. It wasn't an accounting and finance department, but it doesn't matter. So I ask all these same questions again, right? Type of documents, how many documents, and then I ask the question, okay, is there a difference in permissions, right? And there actually was, and it's like, oh, then you have a challenge, because first of all, choice column, it's not going to work, right? It's only one level, right? You have multiple levels here. Managed metadata, it's also not going to work. Let's say I have one document library with a category column attached to this taxonomy. If I upload a document and say data verification, yeah, people have permissions to this library. They can still see it. Yeah, you can't, like, I really advise against changing the permissions of one document, because it's not manageable at all. So that's not a best practice. So that's not something you want to do. So this option also yeah, how do you say it? Didn't work. The last one, document sets. Yeah, same problem, because you can't do a document set in a document set. And then I can do a document set at the level of, let's see, accounting and policies, but then I still have the same problem. I have a category column that's managed metadata, but I can't prevent somebody seeing accounts payable, but not accounts receivable, right? So what actually works? You're not going to believe it, but I'm going to show you. So let's go back for the last time to the site. And here we have something called accounting policies. And what do we see? Oh, folders. Folders, people. Yeah, I know. I think some people must be shocked now. Oh, I cannot believe he's showing folders. I am, and I'll show you why. And I'll show you actually how awesome I think this solution is, and his customer actually really liked it too. So how does it work? Let's click on accounts payable. Oh, subfolders. I can't believe it. Oh, okay, no more subfolders, but 2 documents. Let's upload a new document here. Let me see. This one already is. This one as well, you see. Drag it in here. And now you'll notice it doesn't ask for any metadata. This is going to be a problem. Well, let's see. Let's see the properties of this document. Oh, wait a minute. What is this? There's a column called accounting policies, and it gets the same name as the folder. You see? check payment. And this is a folder, check payment. Oh, wow, that's cool. And it's great, right? Because if you now search for it and you use that, there's this column called, as a category column, you can actually still find these documents, right? So now I can, for example, import invoice processing, also throw a document in here. And if I now go to the beginning, I don't see the documents anymore because I have to click through the folders. But I solved this. I created another view called all documents, and it basically shows all the documents without the folder view, right? And here you see the column accounting policies. And so now I can apply a filter. I can click on here, try to find a filter, and then it filters through all those documents. So how does this work? Right? And you can show more metadata. Very cool stuff. So how does this work? So let's click on accounting policies. So let's go to the library settings. Let's go. What I have here is a column called accounting policies. It's a managed metadata column that actually looks at the taxonomy of accounting and finance. Okay, let's go one back. Let's go down. No, not down yet. First, I want to show you something else. So how does it get that metadata, right? That comes out of the term store. There's an option here called column default value settings. And if I click on this folder, check payment, you see the column we're using, this managed metadata column. And if I click on here, I'm basically saying every document uploaded in this folder gets this default value. So let's do that for example, stop payments. Click on here, click use this default value, and I say stop payments. Click on OK. Now go back to the library. Go to stop payments, accounts payable, stop payments, drag and drop the documents, pick this one. Put it here. Show the properties. You see? That's awesome, right? And this is so easy to use for them because the only thing I have to do, they can of course use upload, it works fine too, but just drag and drop. And especially migrating from file share to here is now so much easier because they select their documents, drag and drop it in here. So what is this view thing here? Because again, of course, it is a bit can be annoying to click through the folders, right? So what did I do? Let's go to the settings again. I have one view called all documents, and what I did, I'm showing the metadata I want to show. So for example, the version, this of course is category column, go all the way down. The folders here. So here it says show, if I select this view, show all the documents without the folders. Okay, that's one. Then if I go to the other one, all folders, that's a new one I created. I say this is actually the default view, right? This view is always selected. I only show type and name. Then I go all the way down. Where is it? Folders. And I say show this one inside folders and start and use it in all folders. So it doesn't matter which one I am, which folder I am, I'm always using this view. And that makes it really workable. And this was really great for the business user. And I actually used I had a chat with another department where I actually used this approach. And in my head, it worked. Because I thought like, okay, I translated your file share to here. You can just upload a document. But where it kind of fell short was when I demoed this to them was the whole check-in. So I uploaded a couple documents and I told them, okay, now you have to go to quick edit, assign the category, and then I already saw in her eyes like, oh man, I have to do so many things. And they have to do check-in, and I saw in her eyes this is not going to work. So I said to them, I'm like, you know what, I created a different solution for another department. So I actually showed this one, and she was like, oh, that's great, that really works for us. So that's what's the most important thing, right? So let's go back to the presentation. Let's go to the last part. Content types. So what is a content type? Again, if you've been working with SharePoint for a while, this is, again, you know what it is, but still it's very difficult to explain. So you can say this, right? This is an official definition. You can say content types enable you to organize, manage, and handle content in a consistent way across your sites. It's official from office.com. But what I also use these pictures, because this is very familiar to business users, because they've all created a calendar item, they all created a task, they created a new document, and you say these are all content types. For now, we'll focus on document content types. So what are the advantages for using this within your SharePoint portal and for structuring documents? First of all, you can work with templates. What do I mean by that? Look, on the left side, for example, you have a project document library that has a document content type called statement of work. Every time I create a new statement of work, at the right side, you see you get a template. And there are a lot of companies out there who defined and put a lot of time and effort in creating uniform templates for the whole company. You just attach these to the document content type, and everybody who creates, in this case, statement of work, is using the template you created. And the template you can, how do you say it, store at one central location, and it's used by every document content type. Next one, unique metadata. What do I mean? What I mean is, at the left side you have the statement of work, and the right side you have the project budget, and you can see they have different metadata. The left one, for example, has company main phone. The right one doesn't have that. And again, this gives you a lot of flexibility to structure your content, your documents in SharePoint. Next up is an information panel and quick parts. Well, what is an information panel? What are quick parts? What are you talking about? Well, the information panel is what you see here. So this is basically displaying the metadata you attached to the document content type, right? This is that statement of work again. We have company, company main phone, contact, and contact email address. Okay, well, nice. I get this, but what is the advantage? Also, when you start to use quick parts. And it's something I will show in a follow-up session as well. What it basically does is if you attach quick parts in your template, the data you fill in the information panel is automatically applied in the template. That's great, especially for documents where the text is already done. It just needs some metadata, right? The company name or the contact persons. You just use the document information panel and the template is automatically filled. It will save you up a lot of time. Next one, or next two actually, are policies and workflow. To be honest, I've never really used these in the real world for businesses. Policies are great though. Or for example, you can say all the documents related to this document content type have to be moved or deleted after a year, 5 years, 10 years. And that can be really useful for, there are some laws out there that say some documents are only allowed to be saved for 5 years, and then they actually can use this. I've never seen it being used, so I don't know if it works. I would love to hear from somebody if this actually works out there, because I'm curious if you enable this and you say, okay, delete it after 5 years. Does it actually kind of work after 5 years? I don't know. But again, could be very useful. So what are some scenarios where you could use document content types? Well, I always use these for meetings and projects. For meetings, I, for example, use it to, for example, for meeting minutes, for agendas, right? So I want to create, or customer wants to create a new agenda by using a template, right? Or minutes. It's very good. You attach metadata to it, works very well. And mostly though for project portals. Let me show you. This is actually an example from a customer of ours. We had a talk and they said like, yeah, we want to have project sites, and every project site has a document library, but within every library, the project members need to be able to create one of these documents. So business requirements and highlight report, project change request form, or a project proposal and justification. So what did I do? I created a document content type for each of these. So if somebody wants to start and create a new business required document, they just click on new, they select business requirements, and a template is presented. And I applied the quick parts together with the document information panel. So I think you can see it here. You see offer at the bottom, and at the top is my name, and you see it's applied here as well. Then we have these 4 templates, but I always create I call a base project document content type called project document, where that's applied to every project document, right? It doesn't matter what it is, if it's a PowerPoint, a Word, PDF, because what happens here is that you have default metadata. You have a project phase, for example, or project name, or maybe project ID. In this case, a company and offer also always needs to be attached to a document. But what is the advantage of this is actually with search, because now every document is at least connected to, if it's not to one of these other templates, connected to project document. So in this case, I search for proposal throughout my whole SharePoint portal. I can say, hey, wait a minute, show me the proposals of our project portal. So I click on project document and my results are brought back to maybe 5 results instead of like 100. And on the left side, you can also say, hey, show me all the project names or all the project faces. And again, you can filter through your search results. It's really, really powerful. And it really improves the findability of documents, because there's often something that's often companies have problems with, is finding documents actually. Tip: if you work with content types in general, not even document content types, content types in general, always create these at the top of your site collection. If you don't do this, let's say you have an intranet portal and you have a department site and the subsite is HR, and you create a couple of document content types at that level, you can only use it at the HR level and one of its subsites. So let's say you want to use it in IT, you can't. So always create them at the top level so you can use them throughout the whole site collection. But in most cases, you'll probably use multiple site collections. You cannot create, for example, a content type in a project portal and a content type in your internet portal. You create it in your project portal and you want to reuse it in your internet portal, you can't. You have to recreate it. Well, to avoid this, right? Because again, from manageability perspective, that's terrible, because then you need to maintain it at 3 locations. You're gonna make mistakes. So what you can do, what I advise to do, is use the content type hub. It's actually also a site collection, right? But you create all your custom content types in the content type hub, and every site collection taps into it, right? So you only have to maintain them from one location, and the other site collections all grab it. And again, it doesn't work perfectly. It works. I don't really like it though. It's not perfect. So in a follow-up session, again, I will talk through it, what works and what doesn't work, and what are some of the best practices. Okay, well, we're almost talking almost for an hour, so I'll finish up. So just a couple of thoughts here. Again, it's all trial and error, right? And that's what I learned throughout the years. I thought I knew how it worked, and sometimes it worked and sometimes it didn't, right? Again, sometimes, for example, you apply the taxonomy, right, with the metadata navigation, and then it doesn't work. You try something else. It doesn't matter. Just keep trying and learning from your mistakes, and next time you'll get it right. Also very important, it's not about you, right? And maybe I was a little bit arrogant in the beginning. I thought I knew how it worked, right? And I was like, you cannot use folders and you should use metadata and this is how you should do it. Well, it's not about me, right? Because I will leave eventually and I don't have to work with the system that's set up, right? Day by day. The business users have to. So what works for them? That's what's important. And it's not about you. Please keep that keep that in mind. And I have to remind myself too sometimes. So, not nobody's perfect, right? And last part is support. Always ask them, especially in the beginning, how's it going? Are you encountering any problems? Do you need help? I always create quick reference cards, short how-to videos, and all of this about the same topics: uploading a document, uploading multiple documents, assigning properties, deleting a document, restoring it. And business users find this very, very helpful, because they always can take a look at the quick reference card or take a look at the video, and it really helps them. And yeah, the thing is, please do it, because sometimes people they're not used to working with this, right? It's often new for them. Okay, well, some resources, slides will be available, so click on them, take a look at it, right? I created a lot of articles about this topic. It's the last one. These are my contact details. Feel free to connect with me in any of these social media. Send me an email. I can't promise I can respond immediately, but definitely drop me an email. If you need any help from, as a business, again, we can help you out. I've been doing this for a while now, actually helping out a couple of international companies who asked me, like, Jasper, can you please help me set up an internet portal or SharePoint Online? How working with metadata and content types and everything I talked about today, I'm helping them out with, and it's been very successful. So it doesn't matter if you're not based in Holland, just contact me to see what we can do for each other. And again, thank you so much for viewing this webinar, for taking the time. And yeah, I really hope it helps you out in your yeah, in your adventures in SharePoint Office 365 and helping these business users working with documents in SharePoint instead of file shares. Thank you.